All right, we're on. We're on. Good morning. Welcome to our first faculty grad chat. We are so excited to have everybody here with us. My name is Erin Helbling. I am the CU-GARS Social Media and Technology Chair, co-chair. My other chair, Jess, is not joining us this morning. I am super excited to introduce to you two of our faculty members. Dr. Michelle Botcher is here with us, and Dr. Robin Phelps-Ward. Our other two faculty couldn't join us today, but we will hopefully look forward to having them join us in another chat. So today we have a couple of pre-populated questions that we'll ask of our faculty and let them answer for you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to tweet them to @CU_GARS. And then if you aren't able to join us live today, we will post this to YouTube afterwards. As a reminder, if you are coming to CU-GARS or get the chance to come to CU-GARS, which we hope everyone does, there will be a faculty drop-in that Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. So if any of your questions don't get answered here, don't fret, because we will have a 2-hour period for you to join our faculty during GARS. So we'll go ahead and get started. Do you guys want to just go ahead and introduce yourselves again and maybe say how long you've been here at Clemson, maybe what you teach, and then a little bit about your background, anything fun you want to add? Okay.
I guess I'll start out. Again, my name is Robin Phelps-Ward. I'm a new faculty member here at Clemson. I teach in higher education and student affairs. So the courses I teach are multicultural counseling, and this semester I have assessment in higher education. So I enjoy both of those classes. They're both very different, but we find ways to make them fun and exciting, and I think that's a thread throughout all of the classes in the student affairs program. I earned my doctorate from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, and I was an adult higher and community education. So I focused on higher ed, and my dissertation was a case study of a mentoring program, formal mentoring program that worked to support undergraduate students to go on to graduate school, minority students. So I focus on diversity in higher ed, the pipeline for faculty development, and a lot of other issues and topics related to women and their natural hair, technology in the higher education classroom, and a couple others. So those are my research areas, what I teach, and I'm excited that you all are here, and thanks for joining us.
And my name is Michelle Botcher. I have been at Clemson now for 1.5 years. My background prior to that, I worked mainly in housing, but the 7 years right before I came to Clemson, I was Assistant Dean of Students and Director of Judicial Affairs. It was a long time ago. So. And so my background is primarily housing and conduct. My housing background, I lived and worked in lots of different places. So I worked at a couple of schools in Ohio. I was in California for a while, New Hampshire. Then I did my undergrad at Iowa State, went back to Iowa State, and I had done my master's at the University of Arkansas, but I did my doctoral work at Iowa State. My research agenda is still emerging. My dissertation work was around faculty development and organizational development of a specific conference. But I'm working on some projects about new professionals going from the job search into the first position and sort of assessing organizational culture and fit. But I have more ideas than I take time to do the writing. So lots of questions to explore. But in my teaching here, I teach primarily the law and ethics course and the research courses. And this semester is contemporary college student, which is also the second in the sequence of research courses at Clemson.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. We can start with our first question of the day, if that's okay. And that is, in your opinion, how does being a graduate student differ from being an undergraduate student? And how might the workload differ both in and out of the classroom?
And I can start if you want. My perception is, as an undergrad, there can be a lot of structure around the education. And so, you know, this is going to be the format and a lot more lecture. In this program, while there are definitely learning outcomes for courses, students will drive what that learning looks like a lot of times. So bringing in current events and issues is going to be really relevant in any class that you take here. And students get a chance to be educators as well as students. There's a lot more reading involved, but I think you read in a different way. It's more about thinking, how does this fit in the work, rather than just memorizing something for an exam or a quiz. I'll stop with that. So.
All right, you touched on the major things already, so I don't have too many more to add, but I think some of the biggest defining characteristics between what you're going to experience or what you have experienced in undergrad versus graduate school are discussion, group work, and just your overall relationship with faculty. So when you get into your graduate courses, there's going to be a lot less of me and us telling you information, speaking at you, lecturing at you. We really want you to be talking to each other, because we think that the knowledge is created as a group. And so the discussion is something that's very valuable. And so that's why you're going to see much more reading, because you have to know, what you're talking about to contribute to that conversation. Additionally, you're going to have a lot of group work. I think when I talk to Pam, Tony, Michelle, all of us at some point in our classes, and Aaron can vouch for this as well, that there are quite a few group assignments. You're going to have some that are individual, but there's going to be an aspect where you're going to be working in a team, and we know that that's part of the reality in student affairs as well. And then lastly, your relationship. I don't know what schools you're coming from and what your relationships are like with your faculty, but we try to foster close relationships with our students, so we know what's going on outside of the classroom, what's going on with your assistantships, what's going on in other areas of your life as well, and those are areas we want to support you in as well. So those relationships are important. I think another big difference.
I would absolutely agree. And for me, my biggest draw to this program was the relationships that we have with our faculty. And when I met the faculty at GARS, I just said, coming to Clemson is hands down something that I want to do, because it was so nice to be able to interact with the faculty here. And I think that we get a ton of interaction with them and have learned a ton from our faculty, and that's super exciting. So I hope that you all will enjoy that when you come to GARS.
We're the best faculty at the graduate level you've ever had, right?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. So the second question, and I think this is a phenomenal question as I look back on my experience in my assistantship and in the classroom with y'all, is in what ways does the class supplement our assistantship and vice versa?
So we talk about, all right. So we talk about in our curriculum and mapping courses, how are we getting students toward engaging theory to practice? And so a lot of what we talk about in class is going to be directly related to what you're going to do in your assistantship work, what you're going to do after the program as well. And so we're constantly trying to make sure that we weave those conversations in, and that we're saying, all right, here's a concept. How would that work if you're interacting with the student now? And some people can, like that day, go and implement it, or try to see what that theory looks like in practice, or later on they figure it out that that's something that occurred. So I think it's by the examples we use, the people we bring into the classroom, and the resources that we share, that we're able to connect what's going on in the class with what's going on in the work you're doing on campus.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is the program is a practitioner preparation program. And so in addition to your assistantship, you will have practicum and internship experiences, because we don't expect that people come in knowing, when I'm done with this program, this is what I want to do next. So it's a chance to explore some different things and look at experiences within student affairs, but also outside of student affairs, and even potentially outside of higher education. But to explore how do I want to take what I'm learning and use it on a daily basis? And so that's woven throughout the program. Some of the assignments that you'll have will focus on your reflecting on experiences that you're having outside of the classroom and outside of any assigned reading or things like that. So,
thank you. The next question we'll jump to is, do you have any advice for students who aren't coming to grad school straight out of undergrad? So we recognize that while we have a lot of students coming to CU-GARS that are coming straight from their undergraduate work, we also know that we have a number of students who decide to go work professionally before they come to Clemson in our program. So if you guys want to talk a little bit about advice you may have for those students, that'd be awesome.
Two things that come to mind for me. One is to be ready to be patient, because students in our program who have had full-time work experience bring something to the classroom that if you haven't worked full-time, you just haven't had a chance to navigate or learn some of those things. So understanding that everybody's at a different place in their own identity development and their own growth, and being patient with people who are in different places. Because you may also be in classes, we have full-time professionals who are working on campus who've worked for a lot of years. And so the second part of it is bring that into the classroom. That is part of the educational experience that you get to create, because you're bringing in experience. And, you know, Robin and I have our experiences and we can reflect on those, but there are a lot of other things that people have done that we haven't done that enhance the learning that can happen in the classroom. So those are the two things that come to mind off the top of my head with that one.
I don't know if I can add a whole lot other than to say, and I think this is for all students, but maybe especially for those who've had a career before coming into the program, or took some time in between, is to try something new, try something that you didn't think that you would ever do, because this is the opportunity to do it. When I reflect on my graduate experience, I was really fortunate to have those opportunities where I could do something that was unlike anything I'd ever done, and to have a place that I could get a lot of support while I was trying those new things too. So,
thank you. Here's a little bit of a question for you guys, not necessarily advice-based, but why did each of you decide to pursue teaching student affairs instead of continuing to work in the field?
Shall I go first?
Sure.
Okay, we've been alternating.
Yeah, I like that. I like
that. So, for me, I was not sure that I wanted to do faculty. I had been a practitioner. I liked doing student conduct. I got the chance to adjunct at Iowa State for a couple of courses. And as someone who is pretty introverted, I just wasn't sure if I wanted to do the teaching. And I knew the scholarship would be challenging, but I also knew I could do that part of it. But I love teaching. And it's because the approach here often is not, okay, everyone sit down and listen to my wisdom, although I kind of like it when people do that. It really is, let's bring our experiences together and make meaning of whatever the issue or the topic is for the day or the course. And so once I had done some adjunct teaching, Clemson was the first on-campus interview I had for a faculty position. And it was nice because I wasn't sure if my next step would be faculty or if it would be to look at like a dean of students job or something like that. But I came here and it was, I won't say that it was an easy interview, because for me there's no such thing as a really easy interview, but it was not uncomfortable. And I'm still learning and growing and figuring things out, and it's a good space for me to do that. And I also will own the fact that it's nice. I did a lot of crisis work in my previous role. I don't get emergency calls at 3 o'clock in the morning in this job. So so that's a positive in that way. But for me, I had done the practitioner piece for long enough that I feel like I have something to contribute in the classroom. And I like the work, and the students in this program are highly engaged, very much critical thinkers, and willing to take ownership and responsibility for their learning, which means we all learn more. So
this is a tough question, but it's a really good one. For me, I think I grew up with a reluctance to teach because my mom was a teacher. And so I remember saying really young, I never want to do that. I never want to teach. And so a lot of the things I did were to get away from those opportunities that would put me in a position to instruct. And then I went on to graduate school, and that was my assistantship, was teaching. And I got a taste for it then. Once I finished, I started directing a mentoring program, and I was completely removed from students. It was a lot of administrative work, and I missed the teaching, so I started teaching again. And that's when I really said, all right, this is it. I love being in the classroom. I love working with students. And it's the one student after class ends that says, you know, it didn't click for me then, but now it does, or, you know, you did make some sort of impact on me. And those are rewarding moments that keep me excited and enjoy teaching. And I think I've told Aaron and probably many other students in the program this, but I love working with you all. This is the joy of my life. You know, I like to do this work, and this is where I'm going to be. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Here's an interesting one. Is it possible to see a syllabus for one of the first semester classes?
No.
That's a good question. I mean, it's actually, I think Clemson's really awesome that it has the repository. So if you go to Clemson and type in repository and search that, you can find like all of the courses for the past 4 or 5 years, right? For upcoming semesters. Sometimes you can email and get those syllabi as well. But
Perfect. That's a great resource that I didn't even know about. So we'll be sure to highlight the repository for those of you who are interested in seeing the courses that have been taught within the last 4 years. And know that our courses are always changing for our program, and our faculty do a phenomenal job of hearing feedback from those who have been in our program and making the necessary changes or changes that they think might make our syllabus more relevant to what's going on in higher ed. And but that seeing those may be really helpful for some of you. So we'll be sure to highlight that resource. This is one that I think is really relevant to those who are considering the program, and something that I thought about throughout my grad search, and that is, can you talk about the focus of the program and how it is different from purely an administrative or a policy-based master's program?
So because it is such a strong practitioner program, the heart, I like to tell students that you really need 2 things to be successful in the graduate program. The first is you need to do what you say you're going to do. And the second is you have to have a sense of care for students, because we can't really teach you those things. Anything else you can learn, whether it's through an assistantship or theory or whatever it might be. One of the things that I think is, and I would say this is a growing and evolving piece, but a cornerstone of the program is how we work with students to help them develop their skills in just talking about issues with other students, but not just with students, with colleagues, with parents, and while I think that's a part probably of most programs, I feel like that's something that you could be in the legal course and there could be a case study on, you got this call from a parent, how are you going to handle that? What are the legal implications? What are the ethical implications? So I think that attending to the other as well as attending to the self, and attending to the self is probably the thing we all fall short on at times because you get busy with things. But I think it goes back to what Robin said about the relationship building with the faculty. There is a sense of care on the part of the faculty that we try to role model that. And then when you have the chance to exercise some of those things in different classes, and I'll let you talk a little bit about some of the classes that you did this fall, but also in your assistantship. Your assistantship and your internship and practicum experiences, those are laboratories for you to learn your approach. And that's the other thing I would say is it's not a, here's how you do it. You have to figure out, the impetus is on you to sort of figure out, how do I do this? What are the strategies that work for me? And so you might have a conversation with Erin. She may use certain language that you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to take part of that. you may do something with Robin in a class and you may think, okay, I can adapt that to my style. You may see something that I do and yeah, no, I'm never gonna take that approach. So, but we try to foster that throughout the program and all of the experiences that you have.
I don't know if I could add much more on that. So I'm thinking about multicultural counseling, and I think sometimes we see courses in isolation of each other, that it's separate from law and ethics, or that it's separate from the contemporary college student, that it's separate from another course, and they really are all connected, that what you learn in one class isn't going to bleed or cross over or have any relationship to another. So that's something that I think is important for incoming students to remember, is that these aren't separate pieces. I've got this tool, I've got this one, I've got that one. Well, we're going to give you a foundation, basic understanding, give you the theory related to these ideas, but it doesn't stop there. You're not equipped after you leave to go ahead and implement. You have to keep learning, and that's something we're going to continue to stress too.
Thank you. Here's a question that I have always wanted to ask you guys, and that is, as faculty, are you currently doing research? And if so, what kind of research are you doing? So when you're not teaching us in the classroom, which we would like to think is the center of your attention, what are you doing outside of that?
So I mentioned one of the projects that I'm doing, I interviewed a group of students who were finishing their master's program in the spring of last year. So I did interviews with them in the job search phase, about halfway through fall semester, and then I'll do a third set of interviews at the end of spring semester. And the project started with, how do you assess culture? So how do you know in an interview, this is a team I want to be a part of, or this is an institution where I see myself learning and growing and developing. Something that has come out of that, which as we talk about research and scholarship, you need to be open to, there may be more important stories or other interesting stories that come out as you're doing your research, but is, how do you do a job search when you're geographically focused? And how does that look the same or different than, I'm going to be a hall director when I'm done, I'm doing a national search and I'll go anywhere. That's not everybody, and I'm not even sure that's most people. So that's something that's grown out of that I'm exploring. I'm also doing a project with 2 other faculty members at other institutions about people who've been practitioners and become faculty. Why? What are the challenges in making that change? And for me, that's a good project, because I'm hearing people say, here are some of the challenges that I faced. So that's reassuring to me that, oh, I'm not the only one who struggled with this piece of the experience, or who didn't realize what a benefit getting to play this role was going to be. So those are a couple of things that I'm working on right now.
Sure. Nothing gets me more excited next to teaching than research. So I'm excited to talk to you about this. So for us faculty, our research goes through a process, a cycle of sorts. So we've got the things that we have in progress, we have the things that we've submitted, the things that we're editing or revising, the things that are in press, and then we have the things that are like they're done, right? And so for me, the things that are in progress right now, one is a manuscript that focuses on mentoring relationships between mentees and mentors. And so there's this dialectic of wanting support from someone, but then wanting them to step back a little bit as well. Maybe we experienced that, but this paper focuses on those dialectical tensions, and that came from my dissertation research. So I'm excited about that one. Another one in progress is looking at experiences of student affairs students in multicultural education type of course, what those look like, and how we can use that sort of teaching to further develop student affairs students, professionals. Another one is focused on mentoring in community colleges. So we know that mentoring happens in a lot of places. Sometimes they're informal programs and sometimes they're in formal places, and that's more often the case at community colleges, where we've got a lot of places serving multiple different roles. So this talks about the institutionalization of mentoring throughout community colleges. In terms of what I've got kind of going out right now is, so I told you all I had some research that focuses on women Black women, their natural hair experiences, their identity development in that area. So I have some interviews I'm transcribing and coding about what that experience was like to go natural and to experience that, and how that changed their experience or impacted their experience on a predominantly white campus. So those are things that I'm working on, I'm excited about, and love to talk to people about it.
Awesome.
May I add one more
Sure.
thing? The other thing that related to this is that there is the opportunity for students to do and produce research as well. So because the research course is a 2-sequence course, you do the proposal in the first course. In the second course, you've got IRB approval, you're collecting your data, analyzing. By the time you're done, you have the material to write a manuscript and submit for publication. And so there are opportunities to work either with your peers, but also with faculty on scholarship, if that's something you're interested in. And I do think that sets this program apart as well. I, of course, don't know every program, but there are programs I'm familiar with where that opportunity is much more limited. So
yeah, we want students to do research, and want them to present that research too. We talked about like publishing, but there's also the opportunity to go to a conference and present, your research or something within your functional area, your expertise as well. So, yeah. And funds to do that. I'm sure Erin will tell you about that too.
Sure. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up with that, and I want to thank both of you so much for joining us today. If you have questions that were not answered, or if you think of questions later that you're like, shoot, I wish I'd asked that, please feel free to still tweet at CU_GARS. We are happy to answer those, or if you want to private message those, please feel free to do so. If you don't use Twitter, please feel free to use our Facebook group, or you can email us as well. We will definitely make sure that you get those answered. And then again, we will have that faculty drop-in during CU-GARS on that Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Do you guys have anything you want to close with?
we hope to see you at CU-GARS, and we really are invested in your success and want to work with you. So I know this is an anxious time, and I think most people go through periods of, should I be doing this? That's normal, and we're here to help, and are excited to learn from you, as well as hopefully provide you some things. So,
looking forward to meeting you all.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much, and have a great day. Bye.